Good morning YouTube and welcome back to the channel. Today I have me young Aaron here. Paulie, what's your actual YouTube thing?
It's just Paulie 650.
Paulie 650, that's it. If you don't follow him, follow this young man. He has some fantastic travels all around Europe and plenty with me as well. Today we're here to talk about the INNOVV Third Eye Mirror Edition, which is blind spot detector for your motorbike. A lot of people don't like this. They say you should do shell checks. I agree, you should do shell checks. But there's no one with some tech to help you out with that as well as this. So if we can use that combined with a shell check, it'd be a really good thing to do. Plus, some people are disabled, may not have a very good neck and be able to turn, or back problems or whatever it may be. So again, it's a good idea for those there. For me, it's not good for my bike because I've already got it on it. It's on my BMW GS 1300, and I can't put it on the school bikes because it's pretty much a no-no with DVSA. They want to see life-saving checks and shell checks, so and I agree with that. So are they any good? We don't know. We're going to find out though, because we're going to put it on his bike, and his bike is a Dualville.
It's the Dualsville. It is a NT650V.
So quite an old bike. But don't be misled by the old bike thing, because his bike has been around Europe more times than most people have flown around Europe. It's done 70,000 miles now. Over 70,000 miles. It's a hell of a long way. So, you know, we're going to bring his bike up to modern standards. We're going to put this on it and any other kit that people keep wanting to send us, because INNOVV kindly sent this out to us. We've not paid for it, but it is a review that is honest. So I'm not going to say it's brilliant if it's not, but judging by all the reviews so far on YouTube, people are saying it's a fantastic bit of kit. So I'm not going to put it on. Aaron's going to put it on his bike because I've got the technical know-how of a mouse. But this young man here is a proper mechanic, he can do stuff like that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to unbox it because it's unopened. We'll have a look inside it. Then Aaron's going to take it away and do an install video. And then we're going to get back together again and see how good it is. So, undo it, mate. You'll be using it.
If I can figure it out. Oh, I might need tools.
You might need tools, not a big thing. You got nails though?
I haven't.
Peel it. Okay, you have got nails.
I quickly grew them out.
Yeah. So these systems for me are a backup to a lifesaver. If you think about the procedure you do, it's mirror, mirror, signal, shoulder check. Well, mirror, mirror, if it lights up, there's somebody there, shoulder check confirms it, don't they? So I think it's a great idea as a backup, but not as a standalone thing. Unless, of course, you're disabled, then that would be a fantastic idea. What we're going here, so, you need your nails again.
You've got two mirror sensors.
Aha, two mirror sensors, which
you may need to take the foam out.
All wide in there. See how two mirror sensors there. That's obviously the sensor. So it's well packaged, let's just say that.
A bit too well for the likes of us.
There we go. So I'll just pull it out there. As you can see, so we'll pull it out of this box. Lots and lots of cables in here. So we've got the obvious destructions. A few stickers to chuck on your bike. Really nicely packaged, ain't it? I mean, that is a really cool box. You could put trinkets in that.
Trinkets?
When you get old like me, put trinkets and stuff like that. So, and then you put it away, you forget about it, and 30 years later you go, oh, I thought I'd lost that. Trinkets, that's what it's for. So obviously we've got all the cables in here, isn't it? I'm a bit impatient, I rip things. Loads of cables. You're going to have fun with that, mate.
I'd have a field day, looks of it.
So we've got obviously lots of stickers there. Obviously they'll be for the mirror. Quite a few of them as well, so if you don't put it on right. That's a bracket.
And that's for the radar.
That's for the radar, which is that unit there, and quite a few wires there. And you're going to wire this to a live, aren't you? So
yeah.
You're killing your battery. So, lots and lots of cables, look, which I'm sure this young man here with his mechanical nous will be able to fit to his bike quite quickly. And so, yeah, exciting times for
It
me.
is very exciting.
We're going to bring his bike into the modern age. So, INNOVV, if you're listening, we'd quite like the camera system for him. Let's see if we can bring a, how old's your bike?
22 years old.
Let's bring a 22-year-old bike into the modern age. Perfect. So, you can sort that out.
So look.
Put it back in there. Oh, a little sticker as well. Caution. The spell's a bit wrong. Look at the. Unless it's me being displayed. That's definitely spelled wrong. Coation. When storing the display, please do not forcibly pull the cable and reserve enough length to avoid tearing the cable while a motorcycle is steering. Coation. So, with that, let's go and look at Aaron's bike. So this is Aaron's DeVille. You can see it's an older model. We're going to put Aaron's going to put detectors on there. This bike is well spec'd for touring. Me and Aaron have probably done, would you say 20,000 miles abroad on it?
Abroad? Not far from it, if that, yeah.
20,000 miles, yeah.
It's done quite a bit.
Yeah, done lots. It's all ready for touring again. As you see on mine, I already have the blind spot detection. The mirror's already just there, so it's no point putting it on my bike. So the next time you'll see Aaron's bike is when he's fitting the INNOVV, and we'll see you later.
Now when it comes to fitting the INNOVV third eye to your motorbike, it is going to require some disassembly. As we mentioned earlier, this is a Honda DeVille 650, which thankfully is quite a straightforward motorbike to take apart. And to route the wiring properly, I'm going to need to remove the fuel tank. On this particular bike, the side panels have to come off first, and starting off behind the right hand panel, there are two breather hoses that have to be disconnected from the tank. Once these are off, I can move around to the other side and disconnect the main fuel line between the petcock and the fuel filter. I'll also drain out any remaining fuel from the filter itself. Now if you have to do this yourself, just be careful, as petrol can spill and it's quite flammable obviously, so just take your time. Now that all of the relevant hoses are disconnected, I can focus on removing the bolts that are holding the fuel tank to the frame. On this bike, that's one main bolt at the back, which is usually hidden under the seat, and two dome-headed studs at the front. And don't forget to keep all these bolts somewhere safe, otherwise you're not going to be able to put your bike back together later. And last but not least, I can now remove the glove compartment lids on either side of the tank. This will give me just enough clearance to be able to lift the fuel tank off the bike. And now with everything out of the way, I can now safely remove the tank. And with the tank off, I'm going to set it aside for later when we're ready to put everything back together. Because I'm fitting the mirror version of the INNOVV third eye radar system, there's only two things left in the way for me now. These are the dashboard infill panels and are found on both sides of the instrument cluster. These are just held on with a few bolts each and are nice and easy to remove, with the addition of a couple of electrical connections behind the left hand panel, and these are easily unplugged. Finally, we're ready to start installing the actual kit, and often when you open a kit like this, all of the wires can feel a bit overwhelming at first and look a bit like a rat's nest. Thankfully, the INNOVV kit has got IP67 waterproof connections that allow you to break it down into smaller, more manageable parts. I've decided to start at the rear of the bike, on the radar module, and figuring out how to mount it with the supplied brackets. Now this is where I did it a small snag finding a good place to mount the radar on the bike, since there wasn't an obvious bolt on location. This is where I ended up removing the top box for better access. The L-shaped bracket that comes with the kit might work really well if you've got a spare bolt on something like your rear light hanger or mudguard. In my case, I had to end up using a 16mm P-clamp, which isn't actually supplied with the kit, but allowed me to mount it directly onto the back of my luggage rack. Now this is where it's important to fit the bracket before mounting the radar itself, otherwise you're not going to be able to get your tools in. Make sure it's tightened properly so it's not going to shift around. And with the bracket installed, I can now bolt the radar on using the two bolts on either side. These are also the same bolts that are used to adjust the angle of the radar itself, so don't tighten them up too much just yet. Conveniently, the radar unit has a nice long cable that runs out the back of it. Ideally, you want this to be ran under the seat to where the control box is installed. At this moment, I'm just figuring out the best route now for the cable. Now this might be a lot easier on other bikes, but because I've got the luggage rack installed, I just wanted to avoid getting anything snagged. Now the radar's mounted, I can move on to the controller unit. This goes under the seat, and it has 5 wires, 2 for your power, 2 for your mirror indicators, and 1 for the radar. As I mentioned earlier, it's worth unplugging the other parts of the kit just to make installation a bit simpler. Before we stick anything on, it's worth looking at the back of the control unit as it's labelled with what each wire does. When it came to mounting it, I decided not to use the supplied adhesive pads, but instead use Velcro. This gives me a bit more flexibility to remove or reposition the control unit if needed. Next are the mirror indicators. At a glance, these do look identical, but are labelled left and right, so just make sure that you have them the correct way around. The way I decided that I was going to route the cables to the mirrors was by going on the inside of the gaiters fitted to the mirror stalks, in order to neatly hide the wires. Once the units are in place, you're then ready to put the adhesive pads on to be able to stick them to the mirrors. These adhesive pads are supplied with the kit, and don't worry, you do get a few backups just in case you go wrong. Just make sure that when you do stick them on, you do it nice and firmly. And for good measure, I did decide to put a cable tie on the top of the mirror stalk before replacing the gaiter. I also zip tied the wiring on the inside of the fairing to prevent it from shifting in use, and it's always a good idea just to keep things tidy. The left hand side is largely the same process. Tuck the wiring in behind the gaiter, stick the unit on with the supplied adhesive pad, and once again secure it with a zip tie just for good measure. And like the right hand side, I'm also going to secure the wire from the inside of the fairing with a zip tie, just to make sure it doesn't come loose or move too much. Now when it comes to routing the cables down to the control box, you can do this down either side of the bike separately, but I decided to do it together by feeding the left hand wire over to the right hand side of the bike, and then route both cables together to make my life a little bit easier. I joined the 2 wires together just by putting small zip ties along the length of both wires, making note of which wire was which. I did this by marking the right hand indicator with a different colour zip tie at the end of the plug. Now the cables were secure together, I'm going to feed the wires down the inside of the fairing and secure them to the actual frame of the motorbike, following the route of the loom fitted to the bike already. It was actually at this point that I realised I'd put the control unit a little bit too far back under the seat, so I decided to clean up another area and fit the control box a little bit further forwards to have a bit more play with the wires. This is actually a perfect example of why it's always useful to use Velcro for such things, just in case you do have to move them, and once again I'm going to use Velcro to refit it, just in case I have to move it for a 3rd time. Now that we have a fresh piece of Velcro to stick the control box to, I can carefully feed the wires back through the frame and attach the control box to its new location, ensuring that the wires aren't being pulled too tight. Now I'm happy with the new location, I can temporarily remove the control box to give myself a little bit more wiggle room to plug the radar indicators in. As you can see, the plugs on these have a small notch on the inside and can only be plugged in a certain way, so make sure that you don't force them together and that the notches locate correctly. You can also see where I put a white zip tie on the right hand indicator. This was so I knew which way around to plug them in, as each side is marked on the underside of the control box and needs to correspond with the correct indicator, otherwise the radar system isn't going to function correctly. Now we have the radar indicators plugged in, we can review the remaining wires. These 2 being the power input and ground, but before getting to them, I decided to plug in the radar, which is the thicker cable, a little bit further along. Once again, it's important to make sure that the plug is correctly lined up, so you don't have to force it closed. And like the mirror indicators, the plugs are IP67 rated, so they need to be nicely screwed together. Now the radar is plugged in, all that's left is to connect the power. But before doing this, I decided to reassemble the bike. This is pretty much just the reverse of removing everything. Starting with the fuel tank, then onto the dashboard panels, reconnecting any hoses that go into the tank, including the fuel line, and bolting the tank back onto the bike. But for now, I'm only going to reinstall one of the side panels. Now when it comes to connecting power to the INNOVV third eye, it's important to understand how the wiring on your motorbike works. Before you start going cutting wires, it's always worth flicking through a workshop manual and checking the wiring diagram to understand which wires can be safely tapped into, as the last thing you want to do is connect accessories directly to the battery, as that will just drain it. In case you haven't got a workshop manual, or any other manual for that matter, you can always connect a multimeter and find a switch live the old-fashioned way. All this requires is to find a good ground like a bolt on the frame. In this instance, we're testing the wire that's connected to the headlight, which can only be operated with the key in the ignition. Initially the multimeter won't display a reading, but once the key's turned, you should see 12.5 volts. Now that I know that this wire is a suitable switch live, I just need to peel back some of the insulation tape which will give me access to the wires. There are a few ways of connecting additional accessories to a loom, but in this case I decided to solder the INNOVV kit for the most secure fitting, which should last longer than the bike's life. Now we have the INNOVV third eye soldered to the main loom, I can go back and re-insulate the wires with a fresh piece of electrical tape, making sure that the new solder is going to be well protected and secure. Now this next bit might look a little bit crazy after spending all that time soldering the wire to the main loom, but it's for a very good reason. In the event that I decide to remove the INNOVV third eye radar kit, perhaps to go onto a new bike, I would want an easy way to disconnect it, so I decided to cut the wire and fit spade connectors to make disconnecting the main power feed nice and simple in the future. Now we have the main power connected and well insulated, we can refit the fuse box to the bike. But before going any further, just to be on the safe side, I want to remove the fuse from the radar kit, which would ordinarily power up the device should the ignition be turned on. But safety first. Since we'd already tested this bolt for a good ground, we know that it's going to be suitable for the INNOVV third eye radar kit, so I'm going to remove it in order to connect the final connection for the kit. Now unfortunately you don't get ring connectors with the kit, but I decided to fit one anyway just for the most secure connection to the frame and for the best ground I could possibly get. Now that we have the ring connector fitted to the wire, I can go back and replace the bolt and put the fuse back in that we'd previously took out. Now to check the system, I can turn the ignition on and see if the kit works. If it does, you should get an illuminated display and hear these nice loud beeps. Now all the wiring's completed, I can replace the remaining panel on the bike as well as the seat, making sure that everything fits nice and snug under the saddle, and I'm going to also put the top box back on just to make sure that nothing fouls that nice new radar on the back of the motorbike. Before testing the device further, the manual does recommend positioning the radar angle to 10 degrees from horizontal, which is what I'm doing here, and all that requires is loosening the two bolts on either side of the radar, which will allow you to slightly rotate it into the correct position. Oh, and don't forget, take that protective film off the radar. And last but not least, just to make sure that I've got the angle on the radar kit correct, I'm going to take the bike off its main stand and get on it to make sure that once my weight's on the bike, it's not going to be angling too low to the floor. So, now that the INNOVV third eye radar system kit's fitted to this motorbike, my Honda DeVille 650, we're going to bring it all the way from 2003 into 2025, because now I'm going to have blind spot detection, and this doesn't even have ABS. So the bike, as you can see, don't really look much different than it did before, but as you saw, we've fitted a rear radar on the bike, which has got a range of 50 metre, and we've got two indicators on the mirrors. Now they light up when someone's either in my blind spots or coming up a bit fast behind me, and then they'll flash simultaneously. So without further ado, let's get out on road in this beautiful weather in Derbyshire and see just how good this radar system is. Right then, so now that we're on road, we're going to test the INNOVV third eye in some real world sort of situations. There's going to be some stop-start traffic maybe coming up, maybe a couple of junctions. I'm going to see if the LED indicators are going to flash at me or do anything, or if there's going to be some beeps from under me bottom. So here you can see the INNOVV third eye is actually picking up that motorbike right in my blind spot on my left. My mirror's lit up, and I'm just going to try and pull out at this junction, and it should that little indicator should turn itself off. There you go. So that indicator switched itself off once that sort of hazard's out of the way. It was quite handy for it to just have told me that, but obviously I'm still checking my mirrors. It's not something to replace your mirror checks or checking over your shoulder. But as you could see, it picked up that little cruiser quite nicely. A concern of mine was actually the indicator's brightness. I didn't think I'd be able to see it on such a sunny day like this. It was a bit unusual for England, but it's nice nonetheless, and it was nice and bright, the lights were, I've got to say. Now the radar, it does pick up 150 degrees of view, so it's quite a wide angle that it's picking up, and it can pick up 64 targets, so it's gathering quite a lot of information, so it might get something really in your blind spot if you're not paying too much attention. But for the most part, you are observing the hazards around you anyway. It's just nice to have that reassurance with the indicators. Now, obviously this will work at night. It's got a little light indicator or a sensor that can detect how light it is outside, and obviously it'll adapt to the environment around you. It'll still pick up the hazards, no problem. I'm pretty sure. Obviously, it's not going to wait until tonight. It's got a couple of hours yet until it gets dark. So, for the time being, we're just going to test it on nice twisty roads. Maybe jump on a dual carriageway and see how it is in a bit of heavy traffic as well, if we can. But you'll notice on the left-hand indicator, there's also a little button. You press that, and it will turn the sound off on the seat, which comes out of the control box. Now, we're not too fussed about turning that off for the exercise of today, because it's be quite interesting to know when that kicks in. I think it's when something's coming quite close behind you, not necessarily just in your blind spot. So you'll get a simultaneous flash of the indicators and a nice loud beep, or a couple beeps under your bottom. Depending on where you've put the control box, of course. You can fit it at the front. There's enough cable to fit it more or less anywhere you want. It's just the only thing limiting you is the length of those indicator cables on the mirrors. Because if you're like me and you wanted to put them on the mirrors, you can put them elsewhere. You're going to need to take up quite a lot of that wire just to get to the mirrors, and feed it nicely through the frame and not have it dangling. It uses a bit more than you expect, so as you saw when I was fitting it, I did have to move the control box a couple of inches forwards. Now, another concern was it picking up traffic going past me like that as well. Now, it didn't seem to have picked anything up going in the other direction yet, although it did pick up when I was reversing the bike. It thought the edge was going to crash into me, but obviously that was just me reversing. So it's quite a powerful sensor on it if it managed to pick up a little edge behind me. But obviously now with no traffic behind us, there's not going to be a deal of examples for it to show us. So I might cut forwards a bit to when I've hit a bit more traffic, which is something that I wouldn't usually say, but I'm quite impressed with this so far. So now that we're coming to a red light, we're able to see this blind spot coming into play. There you go. I've just got an indication on my left hand side, and now a double indication just to let me know that there's someone directly behind me. It's quite handy to have just to remind you that there is people behind you, but obviously it's not there to replace your mirror checks or your shoulder checks for that matter. When it comes to roads like this, the radar system on any vehicle is never going to get much use, because as long as the traffic's flowing, there's nothing for it to pick up. Unless there was someone filtering past me right now or going for a cheeky overtake, there's not really anything for it to tell me about. So as long as the traffic's flowing, you won't see much use out of the third eye. It's when you're in those more sort of dangerous situations at junctions or on dual carriageways, motorways, any time that there's a vehicle passing you or getting a bit close to you, that's when you're going to want a radar system to enhance your ride. Just like now, as I'm concentrating on this vehicle pulling out and this traffic stopping, it's just going to give me some nice flashes just to let me know that that chap's still behind me, as you can see. It probably gave me a few beeps, but with the control box being under my seat and I've got an helmet on, it's not the easiest thing to hear. So I was a bit concerned that it was going to be too loud and that I was going to have to keep turning the sound off, because you can do that. You just hold this button down here and it will turn the sound off. Now, as I'm passing these cars, it's not picking them up because they're not really my blind spot, but to let this van pass, I'm going to move over and see if my radar can pick him up. Now, obviously I'm aware that it's there, and I'm just going to let him roll past and see if it picks him up. There you go. So we've got an indicator on the right hand mirror just to let me know this chap in his trailer is going past me, and it comes off as soon as he's gone past. And it looks like we're going to do a little bit of leapfrogging here, but I'm going to wait for this other car to pass just because I want to see if that indicator's going to light up again. Here we go. This Ford Mondeo's just got picked up on radar, no problem at all. So now that I'm satisfied with the performance on a dual carriageway, I'm going to turn off and try and find some more tighter roads to test it on, maybe a turn or two, just to see if it can pick up multiple targets like it says. As you could see just then, it's just flashed a light at me that someone was in my left hand blind spot. I didn't actually see him, to be honest. I was too busy looking at the lights. It's quite good, isn't it, when it's in action. There you go again. I'm just going to switch lane here. Try and go through turn. I can hear it beeping under the seat, probably because of the BMW behind me just there. So I'm going to do a little bit of filtering here just to see if it's going to pick up any of them cars that I'm slowly passing. I'm going to see if it picks any of them up, because that's the last thing you want, is it just to be constantly flashing when you're doing a little bit of filtering like this. And so far so good, it's not picking any of them up, which is exactly what I'd want. As you can see, it's not picking up a single one of these cars. It's not picking up any of them. Now, it's still not there to replace my mirror checks, because I'm just checking to see if there's any of those Deliveroo drivers coming up behind me quite quick. But if there was, I imagine the radar would tell me anyway, so I can concentrate on these cars, making sure they don't pull out. And while this lane opens up, I'm just going to tuck in. And it's back to business as normal, inflow in traffic, no radar detections. So as we can see, it's not actually picking up anything in slow moving traffic. It's only a 30 and there's a Tesla behind me. It's not picking out like that up. I did have a I had a bad feeling that it was going to pick up too much information and just constantly be flashing at me, but so far it has only just picked up the things that are really actual hazards, things in my blind spots or things that are coming to a stop right behind me. So I'm quite pleased that it's not overreacting to situations like this where you just got slow moving traffic. It might not look like it's so close behind me on cameras, but I think it's close enough to be well, to have been picked up by accident, but it doesn't seem to be doing it, which is great. So to give you a little preview of how these lights perform in low light conditions like this, I'm going to walk towards the bike and try and trick it into thinking, there you go, into tricking it into thinking there's something coming up behind me about to crash into me. I'm going to do that once more from other side. There's the bike. I'm going to approach the sensor, and there you go, you've got the left hand and now the right hand. So that's the crash detection kicking in, and you can hear it under the seat. So I'm quite happy with that, and a nice brightness as well. So what are my final thoughts of the INNOVV Third Eye? Overall, I think it's really good, a brilliant enhancement to your ride. It's not something there to replace your ability, for example doing your mirror checks, doing a couple of them every now and then. It's not there to replace that. It's that's not what it's designed to do. It's there to enhance and assist. Some of the concerns that I did have with it, luckily I haven't experienced today, those being the radar on the back. I was worried it was going to over detect. It can detect up to 64 targets in a 50-meter range, 150 degree angle of view. I was expecting them indicators to be constantly flashing. It was a big concern, because I thought, oh, it's going to get a bit annoying, but not a single problem. It's only detected the stuff in my blind spots, both left and right, and something or an object that's coming a bit too close up my back end, and it's we're coming to a stop sort of thing. That's the only times it's gone off. The buzzer, that's the crash detection feature under the seat, a bit quiet. I was expecting it to be louder, but it's not. It's meant that I've not had to turn the sound off a single time today, so that's good, I think, because that would also get a little bit irritating having to turn that off every single time you turn the key. It resets, so that's not a problem. And the kit itself, not that hard to install, I don't think. With a bike like this, with all the plastics and the dressing, does take a bit of disassembly, but installation, absolute doddle. Wired it directly to the loom, not a single problem. Powers up perfectly fine, as I will show you right now. every single time. You get them nice loud beeps each time. Yeah, as you can see, my indicators are calibrating, or whatever you want to call it, giving me a few flashes, and yeah, overall perfect. Installation wise, not a single problem, and the overall look, it sort of blends in with the bike quite well, despite it being from 2003. So I think I'll leave it at that. And while it's sunny in the sky, a bit unusual for Derbyshire anyway, I'm going to get back out and enjoy the sunshine. So thanks for watching.
Thanks, Aaron. What a superbly put together video. If there's one on the YouTube that is better than that, I've yet to see it. Superb, mate. Well done. As you correctly said on that review, INNOVV have come together a brilliant idea with the third eye, but you need to use it in conjunction with shoulder checks, lifesavers, etc. Don't just rely on tech. Rely on your own eyes as well. So, you know, if I'm about to overtake here, I'm going to do a mirror check, shoulder check, and, you know, if I do a mirror check and see that light up, another quick check, I can see this one there. So it's a really good idea. I've got the BMW, like I said earlier in the video, and what we've done there, we've brought Aaron's 20-plus-year-old bike into the future. So it's a great idea, used with, of course, shoulder checks and lifesavers. Great idea indeed. If anybody out there would like one, then please have a click on the link below. That'll take you to INNOVV's site. A big thanks to INNOVV for giving us the kit in the first place to try out and review. It's a marvellous system. Really do like it. Please like and subscribe to the channel, guys. We appreciate it. And please like and subscribe to Aaron's channel, Paulie650. He will definitely appreciate a like and subscribe to his channel too. Until the next time, thanks very much indeed. Take care. Ride safe. Bye-bye. So what's the point of having one of these ones then? Well,
Sorry.
what? Your arm's getting off.
I need to wake up. Sorry.
That's all right.
Would you like to start it again? Or?
We'll start it again, yeah.
Sorry.
Take two.